Welcome to Total Technik. Today we're working on the Audi S4. This is the BBK engine, which is the 4.2 litre V8, which is found in the B6 and B7 Audi S4s, 2003 through 2008. We've just removed this from the car. We're actually going to make a full engine removal video for these cars. So we'll add a link for you below this video, so if you want to check that out, you can. But in this particular video today, what we're going to do is just give you a quick look around the engine now it's removed, show you where some of the main components are, and that might help give you an idea of, if you're working on your back, kind of looking up underneath from weird angles. Referencing back to a video such as this can often be quite useful. So let's have a look around. Okay, so let's have a little look at the front of the engine. You don't normally get to see this because the gap's so small, because they cram this big engine into such a small space. We'll have a little look at the auxiliary drive belt area to begin with. So obviously this main one in the middle here, that's the main crank. And you'll notice this auxiliary drive belt goes over to the alternator, which is located in the corner here. And we've got a tensioner here as well. And that's literally all that it does. This goes round the alternator. You'll notice if you have a look on the other side, we've actually got the water pump at the bottom here. This is the water pump down this corner, and just above it, this circular unit here, that's the Aircon pump. So as you can see, the auxiliary drive belt on these, slightly different system as found on many other Audis. As you can see, the drive belt is not, the auxiliary drive belt is not powering your AC or your water pump. So just focusing on the alternator for a second. If you have to remove these, they can be quite awkward. This is one of the bolts. It's a very long bolt that goes through and kind of attaches into the frame on the other side, and it has it's only held in with two bolts, one there and then one conveniently located in the lower corner. So as you can see, if you actually need to remove one of these, you've actually got to remove this tensioner first. We've got two bolts at the bottom that will remove this tensioner unit. Of course, the auxiliary drive belt will fall off at that stage, or can be removed at that stage, and that'll give you access to the second lower bolt for the alternator. And you see just tucked in kind of at the back there, this kind of silvery thing with ribs all over it. Just in here, that's the oil cooler, again conveniently tucked in. It's amazing how much kind of tech they can get into such a small space, to be fair. It's a bit of an engineering marvel. The only problem is with these can be the cam chain assembly, which if you haven't checked it out already, be sure to check out our S4 buyer's guide. We go into a little bit more detail on the arrangement of the cam chains inside this engine. The only other thing I'll point out whilst we're in this corner, this little rubber buffer on a little bracket at the front there. This actually, your whole kind of a slam panel fan assembly actually sits on this, so the whole slam panel sits on this. Again, if it's something that's of great interest to you, you can check out the full engine removal video. We'll add a link for that below. And at the top here with a little plastic arm, we've got the actuator there, a few various electrical connectors, the fuel rails, which we've actually removed. The fuel rail comes in along here. There's one of the fuel rail plugs just in the corner there, and you'll find that the loom comes down and actually plugs into a couple of these connectors on the front there as well. Also up in this corner, this is one of the hooks that are used to pull the engine from the car if you're doing an engine removal. As you can see, there's one on that side. There isn't one on the other side on this particular car. Sometimes they have two, but most often it's in this corner and the opposing corner on the rear there as well. Now having a quick look at the top of the engine. Obviously we've got our rocker covers here. These are silver panels, and you can actually see quite clearly now it's out of the car. You can see the little rubber gasket that runs all the way around the rocker cover. Quite common area to leak on the S4s. If you get in a leak that appears to be coming from the top of the engine, one of the most common culprits is this gasket, usually down on this side here. But again, that's not a big job to replace. You've got fairly good access for that. So your fuel rail, your injector rail, sorry, actually they plug in here, and they're the connectors that control the fuel just there, and your actual fuel rails are these two here. and you'll see again, if you're interested, you can look in more detail. We've got 2 fuel lines that we detached from there during the engine removal process. We've got the coil packs here, under each of which obviously is the spark plug, and you'll be probably used to seeing a red rail that connects all 4 of these together. We've disconnected that just for the time being. We've actually recorded a video on how to remove these without snapping them, because very often if they're not done properly, it's very easy to snap the plastic rails. So we'll add a link for that video as well for you. At the back here, this is the oil filter housing right here, and next to that, this is actually the throttle body. If you have a look in there, that might make a little bit more sense to you there. So that's your throttle body right there. These little things that are here, they're just the mounts for the engine covers. Nothing too fancy there. And obviously on the opposite side, we've got our oil filler and the dipstick there as well. So moving down to the side of the engine here. So we'll start with this big gold beauty right here. This is the manifold, and on the end of it you can see it's got like a triangular shape, and that's where your catalytic converter attaches onto the end of. And below this, at the front here, this little unit here, that's actually your starter motor down in there. And then this right here, you can see it's on this kind of bracket that comes out here. This is the engine mount, so you can see the kind of angle that they're set at. It's not far off of 45 degrees, and they sit in a little bracket inside the car, and you have to undo the nut from the underside, remove that, and then when you lift the whole engine, you have to ensure that these are completely free of the bracket before you start to move it forward. That's very, very important. And then as we mentioned before, we do have the alternator right here in the front corner. Different to many alternators, this one, as you see, is quite a chunky beast, and that's because it's actually water cooled. And so what you have, you'll see we've got these couple of lines which are actually drawing coolant in and around this unit. So again, that's quite unusual for Audi. It's only on their kind of slightly more performance orientated stuff that they tend to have that. Usually you don't have coolant floating around inside your alternator. Moving across to the other side, so again this big gold unit, obviously that's your manifold. Cat attaches onto the end there. I've actually got a very clear, nice shot of the engine mount there, and the bracket that holds it on as well. This little unit that you can see just sneaking in behind the bracket there, that is your Aircon pump. You see there's a couple of connectors that have to be disconnected during the engine removal process, and that's where they latch on. So that's your AC pump. And down in the bottom corner here, this is your water pump. Again, slightly unusual because it's not powered from the auxiliary drive belt. Quite a nice job to drain these. It's not too bad at all. They've actually got their own little sump plug on the bottom. Again, you can check that out in our main video. But if you have to drain the coolant on these, you don't have to pull the lower radiator hose off. It's actually got its own little dedicated sump plug, which is quite handy. Okay, so a quick look at the back of the engine. Whilst we're here, we might as well. So we've got cam sensors just coming out the ends here. EGR valves, one here, another just in here. Obviously a hose connecting the two together there. And of course we've got the clutch unit just in this hidden away down at the bottom here. This I've just noticed this. I should have removed this earlier, but this little gasket here, that's for the gearbox. When you separate the gearbox from the engine, there's a kind of gasket that sits in between the two, and that's what that is. So we hope you've enjoyed the video. Like I said, that's some of the main components that are dotted around this engine. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube video, and be sure to check out the BBK engine removal video, especially if you've got to actually remove one of these. Hopefully that will be essential, and hopefully is like gold dust for you. So I know there's not many good guides as to removing these out there, so please do check those out if you need them, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.